Happy New Year, Marijuana Nation. We are back in action after a very appreciated and much needed holiday break. I hope you are all safe and happy for the holidays. Here's to this year being boring as hell. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by MJ Today Media, publishers of this title, our flagship show Marijuana Today, as well as the Weed Wonks and Green Rush podcasts. If you need to reach the best audience in legal cannabis with your legal marijuana marketing message, zip me an email to shay@mjtodaymedia.com to learn how you can get on our sponsorship calendar. That's shay@mjtodaymedia.com with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, and you're tuned in to episode 1008 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Kyle Jaeger kicks off the day, the week, and the year's first story with a great headline out of Illinois, where Governor J.B. Pritzker announced late last week the expungement and pardons of more than 500,000 people for marijuana-related offenses. The numbers broke down to a touch over 9,000 pardons, with the remainder being made up of expungements for non-felony marijuana charges. Illinois has had legal adult use cannabis for a full year now, with Governor Pritzker previously pardoning over 11,000 people in late 2019. This is fantastic news all around and something we need to see more of everywhere. Swing over to Marijuana Moment for the full dive in on this story. As we always do, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website over at mjtodaydaily.com. We keep the news dial set to Illinois for our second top headline on the day, with Alan Brochstein over at New Cannabis Ventures picking up on the more than $1 billion brought in by the state during 2020 via legal marijuana sales. That total is for both adult use and medical cannabis, with adult use grabbing just under $670 million of the whole pie. That total for adult use is further broken down by Illinois as $496 million from Illinois residents and $172 million coming in from out-of-state buyers, which I think is just awesome to see. That's $172 million that was not spent in other states and where the taxes all stayed in Illinois. Another good number to see was the 14,485,704 individual adult use products sold in 2020 in Illinois. People seem to like this marijuana stuff. Kyle's back to round out the day's top stories, swinging down to New Mexico, where a judge has ruled in favor of a medical marijuana patient who was sanctioned for his use of medical cannabis while under a 90-day house arrest sentence. District Court Judge Lucy Solomon found in favor of medical patient Joe Montano, finding that New Mexico's medical cannabis laws apply even to those under incarceration. There is sure to be pushback by the prison industrial complex here, at least until it figures out a way to profit on the idea, so I would guess we'll see more of this general storyline pop up in the future news flow. Swing over to Marijuana Moment for more details here. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, publishers of this title, our flagship show, Marijuana Today, as well as the Weed Wonks and Green Rush podcasts. MJ Today Media has been publishing legal marijuana podcasts for coming up on 7 years now, building up the best audience in the industry along the way. If you have a legal marijuana business, product, brand, or service that you need to introduce to all the right people in the industry, then you need to get in touch with me today to learn how to become a sponsor of our work here, because we can do that for you. Just email me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com with Shay spelled S-H-E-A to get started on making the best legal marijuana marketing decision that you will ever make. That's shay@mjtodaymedia.com. All right, time for the Blitz. Longtime marijuana activist and entrepreneur Steve DeAngelo announced late last week that he is stepping down from his position with Harborside, the vertically integrated cannabis company he co-founded back in 2006. No exact reasoning was given for the sudden split, and DeAngelo simply said he would be devoting more of his time to his other projects. including his work with his nonprofit organization, The Last Prisoner Project, which I should point out did receive a little bit of journalistic shade in Politico last week. That's a good story that you should also track down and read. As the calendar ticked over to 2021, Montana residents woke up to a state where adult-use marijuana was finally legal. Montana residents passed legalized adult-use marijuana in November via ballot measure, and January 1st marked the first day it went into effect. It will be a good while before shops are selling adult-use products, with most realistic estimates pegging 2022 as the year dispensaries will be selling to adult-use customers. But in the meantime, everyone is free to grow at home. And of course, no one's getting arrested anymore in Montana for simply having cannabis on them. Arizona is another state in the process of enacting more progressive cannabis laws, as that state's citizens also voted in adult use legalization with the passage of Proposition 207 in November. AZ Marijuana is reporting that Arizona shops will have adult use products out on their shelves as early as March, as Proposition 207 set a deadline of April, by which time all medical shops will automatically be able to expand to adult use customers. That mechanism was put in as a way to prevent Arizona regulators and lawmakers from delaying adult use sales via policy machinations. Bart Shainman has a really interesting look at the broad world of cannabis testing, where a lack of regulation and standards has created a very chaotic environment in which to operate. Testing labs have to contend with a wide host of troublesome factors, including clients that will simply shop around to whatever testing lab gives them the best results. Testing companies also have to be on the lookout for clients that will dust their submitted cannabis products with things like keef in order to boost the tested level of THC. Sounds a bit like an operational nightmare. This is a good story to read, as testing is absolutely something we all need to have a good handle on. Popping up to my corner of the country here in Maine, Penelope Overton at the Portland Press Herald has a really good story looking at the collapse of Maine's short-lived legal industrial hemp industry, which saw 3 good years of growth before all but crumbling over the last year due to collapsing prices and complicated rules and regulations. The sudden dip in industrial hemp's fortunes in Maine has left some farmers with a lot of debt and has resulted in a number of lawsuits over failed business plans. If your world touches industrial hemp at all, this is probably a good story to dive into fully. Ben Adlin, writing over at Marijuana Moment, has a really interesting story up about a study conducted by researchers at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, looking at what kind of music is best for people to listen to while undergoing therapeutic psychedelic experiences. Apparently, the generally held convention in the small world of psychedelic therapy has been to use Western classical music, but the researchers tested that notion against the use of things like gongs and Tibetan singing bowls. The study was a small one with just 10 participants, so more research will need to be done on this line of thought, but it does suggest that we shouldn't just automatically be reaching for Mozart when it's time to get therapeutically psychedelic. Kyle grabs his third headline on the day, wrapping up our dip into the news cycle with a visit to Michigan, where Governor Gretchen Whitmer has signed into law a bill that allows veterinarians to talk to their patients about the use of medical marijuana. Or maybe I should say, speak to their patients' humans. The use of medical cannabis products like CBD by pets is a relatively new thing, with lots still to be learned, but this seems like a good way to go about doing that. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.